Hello. For those who don't know me, my name is Sean Latham. I'm the Pauline McFarland Walter Professor of English at the University of Tulsa and the editor of the James Joyce Quarterly. And I'm here to welcome you to a new video series that we're creating at the James Joyce Quarterly that's designed to create some sense of connection and community during this period of quarantine, of sheltering in place, and of social distancing. These are difficult, strange, and unsettling times for all of us. And I want to start at the outset here by saying how grateful I am to Carol Kelleher, the managing editor of the James Joyce Quarterly, and the 6 editorial interns we employ. That entire team has done a phenomenal job of moving the entire production of the journal from our offices on campus into their homes, into their bedrooms, their basements, their living rooms, their home offices. And thanks to that enormous effort that they've undertaken, we've been able to keep the journal largely on track. We're receiving submissions. We're working now quite hard, actually, on producing our next issue, which we expect to send to the press in just a matter of weeks. So the James Joyce Quarterly is doing well, and we hope that the journal can provide some sense of community during these difficult and challenging times. In order to facilitate that, I'm very happy to say that in cooperation with our partners at Project Muse, we've decided to go ahead and make the journal itself open access at least through June 1st. This means that if you go to Project Muse, you can access our current and back issues for about 10 years or so. All of that content will be available to you for free. So if you need the journal for your teaching, for your students, for your own research, if you just want to get a sense of what the current state of Joyce criticism looks like, or maybe you even want to take some of this time to dive into your own work or a deeper investigation of Joyce, we've tried to make this resource available for you. In addition, we're also working on developing a new series of digital content, a new array of digital content that will appear on our website. This will include enhanced interviews, video series like this one, and a good deal more. So I urge you to visit the James Joyce Quarterly website when you have an opportunity, where you'll find details about all that we're doing to help during this challenging COVID crisis. As I'm sure you know, one of the sad things that's happened as a result of this is that we've had to postpone this year's 2020 James Joyce Symposium that was originally scheduled to take place in Trieste. It's been moved now to June 2021, and I look forward to being able to see all of you in person once again, once this crisis begins to abate. One thing that symposium always reminds us, and that I hope the journal has always done, is to provide a sense of community. The James Joyce world, the James Joyce industry, right? This global collection of readers and teachers and scholars and students, we often look to Joyce. In times of crisis, in times of happiness, he's often there to help give us some sense of shared purpose, of shared humanity, and even a sense of wonder at the extraordinary nature of his body of work. In order to step into the gap created by the postponement of this year's symposium, we've therefore invited our friends, our contributors, and our editors, or our editorial advisory group from around the world to join us in order to share short videos, reports of what life is like where they are, and perhaps to say something about how they are or aren't using Joyce to make their way through these challenging times. In the coming days and weeks, we'll be posting reports from Dublin and Italy, from Korea, Japan, China, France, and other outposts of the Joyce community scattered around the world. In order to kick things off, I thought it would be useful to just say something about what life is like here in Tulsa. We are fortunate, we're locked in some ways in the middle of the country. Even though we are a very red state, our mayor moved very early here to impose social distancing and then shelter-in-place guidelines, all of which have, I hope, helped slow at least the spread of the virus here. We have a relatively small number of cases reported in the state, though it has to be said that testing here is also very poor, so I suspect we don't actually have a very good sense of what's going on. We're also very fortunate to have had fewer than 100 deaths at this point in the state. I think 59 when I saw the news this morning. which is also somewhat encouraging news, though, of course, we expect things to get much worse before they get better. There is an enormous sense of anxiety in the air, though also a sense that things are going on in some sense as they have before. It's springtime here, the trees are blooming, the flowers are blooming. It's beautiful outside, though, because this is Oklahoma, the wind is indeed blowing down the plain at this time of year. For my part, I'm not teaching much of Joyce this semester, though I have been reading and reflecting a bit on some of his works. I certainly am drawn during this period and have thought a bit about Hades, the episode of Ulysses that Joyce wrote just as World War I was coming to an end and just as the Spanish influenza epidemic of that era was beginning to take root, its own toll of death beginning to be registered. And of course, in that episode, we find Bloom wandering through the graveyard, taking his own mythic trip into the underworld, confronting death, coming to grips with the fact that death is the fate of all living things. And in some sense, we measure ourselves and our humanity by how we grapple with that fact, both in our day-to-day lives and especially in moments of crisis like the one we face now. I think we also find in that episode one of the most important things that Joyce can provide us at the moment, which is a sense of our shared humanity, of the warmth of human connection, of the importance of the need to create a kind of community. Warm, full-blooded life, as Joyce writes in that chapter, or that episode of Ulysses. That's what we're looking for now and what we need now more than ever. In addition, we're also setting up some other kinds of programming here to try to improve the depressing and difficult aspects of being at home all the time. Beginning this evening, for example, the Humanities Center that I also run will be starting a series called Humanities Happy Hour that will take place every day at 5 o'clock Central Time. It will be a live broadcast event in which we'll have a cocktail created by a local business that we're pairing with some kind of humanities event as well. And we're kicking things off tonight, actually, as I record this, with a reading of Eveline, Joyce's short story from Dubliners. It's a short, self-contained, sort of easily understood work that I think also profits from a good deal of conversation. So we'll stream a reading of that and then gather to sip our cocktails and to talk a little bit about a story which, as Margot Norris has argued, probably tells us a good deal more about the reader than it does about the actual characters that are represented in the book. Like so many other Dubliner stories, it has what she calls that poisonous hermeneutic touch, in that the minute we try to make sense of the story is the minute we're also saying something about ourselves, maybe our own view of the world. So that's some of the things that are happening here. I urge you to keep an eye on the James Joyce Quarterly website. I urge you to visit the free version of the journal now available at Project Muse. You'll be seeing video diaries like this coming in regularly in the coming weeks, and I hope that you'll take a moment to reach out and get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you, either through email or through social media, maybe just to stay in contact, and maybe you want to provide a video diary like this of your own so that you too can share in the larger Joycean community. That's certainly something we'd be happy to facilitate. In the meantime, I hope that you continue to take good care of yourselves. I hope you take good care of your communities, and I hope that you stay well and healthy and sane during these challenging and difficult times. You certainly have our best wishes here from Tulsa.